Welcome back to the next season of The Bachelorette, Charity Lawson, and I could not be more excited about this season. And in this video, I want to go through the limo entrances and talk about the early frontrunners and get a little bit more background on Charity. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Diane Strakowski, the Back to Love doc, also the Bachelor psychologist. I am here to break down everything about Charity's season. I want to talk about the psychology. I want to talk about the relationships. And I want to give you a different perspective. I don't have the tea, but I really have the psychology about relationships, which ones I think are going to work and why, and to talk a little bit more about attachment theory, which is my background and my specialty. So before we get started, what do you think of my new studio? I've changed things up a little bit. Before I had that pink background. Now I'm going with a little bit more modern, but a little more retro too. My Sylvania TV that my husband made for me with the lights. I've got my love, my roses, and of course I have my Charity doll, because let's face it, Charity is a doll. She looks like a Barbie. And when I found this Mattel Barbie, who's actually talking on my Instagram, I just couldn't resist, because I think the hair, everything looks just like Charity. So Charity's going to be here with us, giving us some insights and some analysis on the show. But what I loved about the beginning part of the show, and I'm just going to get started, was all the background about Charity. Like, who is she as a person? So we met Charity, as you know, in Zach's season. She was one of the final four. She actually made it to hometowns, and then she was let go after that. I thought Charity was just so lovely, and you could see the friendships that she formed in Zach's season. Everyone spoke so highly of Charity. She just seemed so easygoing. Can we remember when she's like upside down and Zach's carrying her around on this race? She just seemed so easygoing, so lovely. And I have to tell you, I was really impressed with her on night one, because this girl's got a little sass too. At first, I thought, well, maybe she'll be a little bit more straight-laced, but I think there is just so much more that we're going to learn about Charity, and I love it. And already I can see a little difference in the editing. Did you notice? Like, it's a little bit faster. I loved the background part. We didn't need a whole montage, but we had just enough information. Understanding, because I love to know about the family. She's two brothers. We had met her brother, Nehemiah, who we'll get to, but she has a second brother and a beautiful sister. And I mean, this is like a model family. Her mother is gorgeous.
My parents have been married for 48 years, and that's why I want this so bad.
What's not to love? They're all accomplished. They're all God-loving. We saw that big family in Georgia during her hometown visit. So I'm hoping we're going to get to see more of that. But for me, as a therapist, I'm looking at all of this thinking all the love, all the support. I dug deep into Charity's Instagram and saw that what does she do on her graduation post? She thanks her parents. We know she's close with them. She thanks God. She thanks God for all of her success. She talks about how she loves what she does. Of course, what I love, what Charity does, is she's a therapist. She's a child family therapist. But she's been in school for the last 6 years. Again, she's only 27. 6 years of school at Auburn, where she did her undergraduate and then her graduate degree. I don't think she's licensed yet. That might be a little bit early. But she's working with children, and she just exudes love and empathy and is passionate about what she does. And I'm just so hopeful, because also in Zach's season, we saw her tearful, right? She was crying. There had been where that whole the mentalist came, right, and was talking about somebody having cheated on you. And so that was a heavy kind of side of Charity. And one might say, yes, even as a therapist, you can make mistakes, because empathy which is Charity's strength, and I understand that, can also be a therapist's weakness. Why? Because sometimes you give people too many chances. But what I love is Charity now is in the position as the Bachelorette. You don't have to do that, right? You don't have enough time to give people too many chances. So I just think we are in for a great journey. And the way that we see the promo and everything, I just think it's going to be a great season. Okay, so what else do we know about Charity? We also know, again, that she is very Christian. We didn't know that from night one, but again, looking at her Instagram, she oftentimes references God. What an opportunity to love people as Jesus loved people. And again, an advocate for mental health. So those are the things that stood out for me. But you can see also that the men were just knocked off their socks with how beautiful this woman is in many, many ways. But the warmth and the bubbliness is what I liked. Okay, so let's get to it. So now we're coming into the limo entrances, and Charity, this is the best I could do, shows up in that beautiful pink gown. But there's Jesse there, and what's with this, covering? It's raining in LA, which has been quite unusual. It's been raining up in the Bay Area too, but Jesse looks like he really likes Charity too. What's not to like? But we can see that there's just good energy all the way around, and we know that if production likes Charity too, that we're also going to get a good season. So let's talk about the limo entrances. The one thing, again, back to the editing, I really like that some changes have been made. I'm guessing that because Mike Fleiss is gone, but I'd heard rumors like, was he there at the end? We know that he's gone now, but during the filming, he might have been there at the beginning. But in terms of the production, just seemed a little bit tighter. Here's what I liked. They introduced the guy and then show the package, right? The little montage, the little video of the person. So helpful, because in night one, if we see all the videos and then we're not quite placing together who the people are, but pay attention to who gets a package, because oftentimes that person is going to go far on the show. Okay, let's talk limo entrances. And if you are not following Bachelor data, I suggest that you do, because what I do when I'm watching, I print out this handy dandy Bachelorette watch guide, episode 1. So helpful, because what I can do then is put little stars and number them. It has their Instagram page and what they do for a living and their picture. So helpful. So who comes out of the limo first? Very important. First and last, according to Bachelor data, because those are usually the people that we're paying attention to and those people who get a package. So number 1 comes out of the limo, Aaron B. He's the one with the coin flip, heads or tails. So funny. We know that he's not going to end up leaving in the limo. And we'll hear about the coin later, I'm sure. But he's from San Diego, very attractive. Who comes out number 2? Josh. Then number 3, we had Joey. Also think Joey's going to go far. So what else did I think about the limo entrances? Well, this year in particular, they seemed a little toned down to me. At first I said a little bit lame, and I like the campy kind of jokester ones. I like when somebody dresses up like a cat, or I like when they dress up like an apple. What I'd like is when they're paying attention to the person and is doing something specific to them. There's always like the goofy pillow and dressing up like a pregnant bride or something, which to me feels a little bit even campier. But when it's on point, so here's what I would have wanted to see. Okay, I would have wanted to see like somebody dressing up like Freud, for instance, because she's a therapist, right? Of course, I'm going to get this as a therapy joke, but wouldn't that be funny if somebody came dressed as Freud and said, I'm going to analyze you? I thought it would have been great. Okay, forgive me for my really bad Freud impersonation, but who else comes out of the limo of significance? Well, let's talk Xavier. My goodness, he is a hunk of a man. And you can definitely see a connection going on there. But some other favorites, I really liked John. John with the fortune cookie. And I'm forgetting the one who came out with the check. I think that was Sean, actually. The charity check. Loved that. That was specific, so I really liked that. Spencer. We're going to get to Spencer. Warwick. He was the one who came out with the ticket, right? The plane ticket, because his parents met on a plane. And I really liked that a lot, again, because I thought that also felt very personal. Now, Joey also came out with that flower behind her ear and said right side single, left side taken. Loved that. Like, that seemed really personable. And again, Doughton was the super tall guy who Charity is like literally hugging like his belly button. I need to know how tall this guy is. So those were the guys. Of course, there were some less memorable ones. But if we had had just a little bit more campy, I think I would have liked it just a little bit more. But what I did like is the quality and the caliber of these men. Many of them have scientists. They have degrees. A lot of tech guys. We saw some guys going home. But most of them have jobs. They aren't like a sloth or, cheesy guy or social media people. They all looked professional. So I really want to take my hats off to production and to the casting, that I think they did an excellent job trying to find a professional for Charity, because she's a professional. So then we get to the showstopper, which is when Jesse comes out and says, there's somebody from your past. And you could just see poor Charity sweating. Of course, it's her brother, Nehemiah. And I thought that was actually really cute. I said it was a little bit too much of the, older protective brother. But I thought this was really well done because they're best friends. Love that they've gone through a lot together. And it didn't feel like last time when it was really heavy, talking about, oh, I don't want to see my sister get hurt again. This felt light and fun and breezy. And he came out and he said he was going to be the bartender, of course, and the disguise wasn't great, but it was funny, right? It was funny. And did the guys really know who he was? Well, of course, somebody calls him out and says, oh, that's her brother. But I thought he just played along really well. And then he's like, oh my God, I'm like working. He's like cleaning up. And I thought that was just really cute, right? It added a layer of playfulness that I just think was really interesting. Okay, so let's talk about Brayden. So this is the most controversial guy of the night. Thankfully, there's no like really drunken guys. There's nobody who comes out really making a fool of themselves. But Brayden, in his promo, says that he's been cheated on and he's going to join with Charity around that, which I get. And I think he's saying, I know what you've been through. I think that was a moment for joining. And I can actually see that Charity was interested in him. He's a nice looking guy. He looks very different in his package than he does there. And he even says that he's going for the Marlon Brando kind of, suave glasses. And I'm like, okay, got a lot going on. What do we think of the glasses? Are they real? Are they fake like mine? I'm not sure. But Brayden is bringing all of that. And is he cocky or is he just confident? That was really the issue. So now, of course, he's talking to Nehemiah, not knowing that that's her brother. And he is going on because he's excited. At least that's what he says. And then Nehemiah is, of course, going back to Charity, giving her feedback. This is the one guy that stood out, and all the other guys he thought were doing great. Thought it was a little bit too much, and a little bit of this like kiss and tell, they said, because the other guys were like, I don't do that. So I don't know. Of course, we're going to see in the promos that I think he's more problematic. But sure, at the time, he's excited. It still felt a little bit too much for me. And given that I don't think Charity likes these guys that kind of peacock a lot, because we see that in the previews, I don't think he's just a fit for her, shall I say. Having said that, this is the fascinating part, right? Your brother tells you this is the one guy, or your mother or someone tells you this is the one person I don't think you should go for. And sometimes psychologically, unconsciously, it puts us to do the opposite, right? You tell me I can't, like what's wrong with them, I'm going to show you. I know the same thing. Like my mother didn't like one of my boyfriends, and I'm like, I'm going to show her how great they are. So instead of saying, oh yes, I'm going to take that under consideration, what does she do? She goes and she gives Brayden the first impression rose. Now let's talk about it though. We have learned, because this isn't our first rodeo, we've been down this series many, many times, and I'm guessing Charity is smart enough to know that sometimes when you give the first impression rose and you put so much pressure on the rose, it's sure to backfire, and then it puts a target on that person's back. So I think that Charity knew, hey, I'm not going to end up with this guy. I'm just going to give him the first impression rose. But here's what I think paradoxically it did. It let all the other guys know, get on your toes, right? Because at first, the whole point, the moment was, oh, my brother was here, and you saw like Charity had a little bit of secondhand embarrassment, like, oh my God, my brother was here, wanting to like find out what the guys thought about it. And then she calls Brayden out, and then he comes back with the rose that she sneakily took the rose. So I think that got them all to kind of just pay attention though. And I think that was a really good move. I really like Charity for doing that, like going against what her brother said. So she's saying, I'm going to choose for myself. And you'll see, because we've seen this in all episodes too, where like somebody says, oh, so-and-so is doing this, and you have a one-on-one and you don't get more or less information. So she was going to choose him anyway, and I think good for her. Okay, there was chemistry there. That's fine. But what I like is we're seeing again, this to me felt a little bit more like a connecting part, where it wasn't so much the limo entrances, but it was like talking about the apple cider and connecting on other things. John now, for instance, who's adorable, he was talking to her about family and being close. Somebody else was bringing up parents and how long they've been together, and I really liked that a lot. So again, we got to see Charity in a more loving kind of position. Okay, so ultimately we're going to trust Charity's decision on all of this, because again, she's got it together, and I think she's going to make good choices. But let's talk about Spencer. Okay, so people were coming hard for Spencer on Twitter, on Bachelorette Windmill. Why are we saying such horrible things? What is the issue here? So to be fair, we don't have enough information about Spencer and who he is, but I've done some digging. Okay, I like to look for the analysis to find out what is going on here, because there's some speculation. Okay, number one, he's doing what we call face play with the Game of Roses people. He's read the book, and he thinks that in order to get more airtime, he's just going to make some crazy faces, right? But of course, those crazy faces look very weird. And so why people were saying negative things on Twitter is they were saying that he's creepy, that he's got, 3 dead bodies in his basement. And I'm like, we don't know that, right? But when we see something that looks awkward, we perceive it as dangerous. And I don't know what Charity thought. Some people thought that she really felt very uncomfortable. I thought it was a moment for her to shine, again, because she's a very empathic person, and she treated him quite well. So number one, he's doing face play from the book. 2, he's just nervous. He has social anxiety. But that's what didn't really come together, because he also is in biotech. Right, he's in medical sales, Moore Park, California. This is a guy who's otherwise confident in sales, to be that nervous, that felt like a real play up. So, but number 2, he could be socially anxious, super nervous, bad at public speaking. Okay. Number 3, and here's the big thing as a therapist, I cannot let this pass, is people are saying that he's neurodivergent, or what we call on the spectrum, or he has a tic. Now, here's the tricky thing, because a lot of people were watching this, and I'm watching this live, looking at the tweets and the comments, and people are saying, oh, he reminds me of my brother who's on the spectrum. He looks neurodivergent because he had that, there was like that laugh, that part, and he felt like slow in his speech, or said like, oh, so you're in, what did he say, in medicine or something, and it seemed a little, there was something awkward about it, right? It was the pacing of it. So, but if we say that he is, if I say that he's on the spectrum and he's not, then that's a pretty heavy thing to say. So that's why I'm skeptical and I don't know. But here's in my investigating, so I was on Reddit also, and they're saying that possibly he's totally acting. Okay. So someone else supposedly had met him in person in real life, and he wasn't like that at all. He was very personable and completely normal and was on a date with somebody, and they just thought he was lovely and a normal guy. So for me, then this is even like harder to digest, which is he acting? Is he pretending? Is this like a Queen Victoria that we had at Matt James season where she's pretending and then all of a sudden she's going to go black on Instagram because she gets a lot of negative flack? I don't know, but I'm always just skeptical. Like, before we say something one way or the other, to me, if he is really acting and acting to be somebody neurodivergent, then that's just like a, oof, let's do better. I don't like that. But I don't think he's going to be there for very long. I just didn't see a love connection between the two of them compared to some of the other men. But other people are saying they love Spencer. He's great. And I'm just more curious at this point. But I just wanted to go over all of that because we have to hold our tongue, right? People can be sometimes really cruel. And I know for people's mental health that we want to be sensitive to all of them. Okay. So the message of that is let's just be kind. All right. So, hold on. Let's talk about the front runners. Who are the front runners? Well, Joey, again, adorable. Loved that he said, why are these guys all so tall? Because Joey's like average height. Adorable, though. He's a big front runner. Got a package. Aaron B., again, from San Diego. We're going to see him. Looks like next week he's going to get the first one-on-one. Xavier, who had a beautiful package. He's knitting, also, working out. My gosh, we had Doughton from Nigeria, also the very tall guy. John, adorable. Tanner, there was something in the preview about her feelings for Tanner. And then where are we going to see the friction? Where's going to be the drama? Well, we are going to see some drama with Brayden. We saw that in the previews. Looks like Sean and Spencer. At least we see Spencer kind of melting down about jealousy or something. So they're just leading us with all of that. But in terms of the people that she let go, the people who did not get a rose, I think I was trying to see, is there any theme here? Like, who is she eliminating? Well, she eliminated Chris, the jumper. That was impressive, I gotta tell you. Just being able to do a backflip from standing position is very impressive. But some people thought it was overdone, right? The peacocking with him and, oh my gosh, sorry, I have to look at my notes. With him and Caleb was just a little bit too much. I don't think Caleb's going to last for very long too. Pilot Pete, another Pete, he's gone. Caleb, Nick, Taylor, and Joe. We didn't get to see them very much, but if we look at those guys, all of them are actually impressive. Again, most of them have good jobs. We've got a firefighter. We've got, a travel nurse, recruiter, Michael, who we didn't even get to, a yacht captain, underwater welding. That was John Henry, the guy who had the, what is it? I guess it's a welding helmet, but, it looked like a under Jacques Cousteau kind of helmet. Okay, so the theme that if I look for is that Charity is looking for someone who is sensitive, somebody who's going to be probably, educated, I'm guessing Christian, but she's decisive, and I like that. Other people were saying, oh, well, did she miss some red flags with like Brayden? No. I mean, first off, you can't let go of everybody on night one. And Charity let go of 6 guys out of an already smaller pool of people. So I believe actually Charity is going to be quite decisive as she was in the first night. And she's really, as we're seeing, she's not going to put up with a lot of crap. So I think good job to everyone in casting. Good job to our queen, Charity. And that's all I have. So let me know in the comments, what do you think of my new studio? Who are you thinking is the front runner? And no spoilers, please, if you happen to know. But let me know what you thought of the premiere, because I am just really excited. And that's a wrap.